Here we go, College Football Payoff Podcast. What are we in, week 7?
Week 7, episode 45.
Yep, episode 8 on the year. I'm Dan, that's Big Country. Back again. I'm feeling a little bit better. I'm going to chalk my performance up last week to illness because I went a cool 1-2. I think we have a lot of room to improve on this week, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we went, was it 1-5 is the pod last week?
1-5.
Hey, you'll have those weeks.
One of the worst weeks of all time in pod history.
Yeah.
3 years of doing this.
Yeah, so it took us 3 years to go one for. But I think Vegas even got destroyed too. Or no, Vegas didn't get destroyed. They destroyed a lot of people, is from what I read. So hopefully we can make a comeback this week. I'm feeling pretty good. I mean, I only have 3 this week, but that's because there are a lot of good games out there, so it's tough to get a read on some of these. You got top 10 matchups with Bama and Tennessee, and I think there was another one. Michigan, Penn State, that's right. So a lot of good conference games coming into play, and, the season's starting to take shape. Last week, a lot of stuff just kind of went haywire. I had my one win was it Oklahoma State? Oklahoma State 9.5, and they won by 10. My losses were Nevada, somehow losing to one of the worst teams in college football, and then Auburn plus 29.5. They ended up losing by 32. So tough break there, but feeling a lot better this week, and we will get back rolling. You got anything to add before we jump into these games or what?
Okay. No, I'm good, man. Let's hop into the games.
All right, let's get it. You can start us off then.
All right, perfect. I'm going to start us off in the Big 12 this week. High-flying matchup between Oklahoma State and TCU. This game has huge implications for the Big 12 championship outlook and possibly college football playoff outlook. Both teams undefeated. TCU currently -4, over 68.5 is the total. I really love the over on this game, 68.5. We look at Oklahoma State and Mike Gundy. He's back to his air raid roots. They've been throwing the ball all over the field this year. Spencer Sanders, who I didn't think was going to have any big improvement this year going into the season, he's actually already thrown for almost 1,400 yards, 12 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. On the other side of the ball, Sonny Dykes has obviously just been rolling. Huge win against Kansas last week. That game could have gone a lot differently, though, if Jalen Daniels from Kansas didn't get hurt. His quarterback, Max Duggan, who wasn't even supposed to start at the beginning of the season, has already thrown for 1,300 yards, 14 touchdowns, and 1 pick. So between both these quarterbacks, we got 26 touchdowns through the air and only 3 picks. We love that for high-scoring games. On top of that, when it comes to some national rankings, the Oklahoma State offense, they're 21st in the nation in total yards, while TCU is 94th in offensive yards allowed when we're talking about their defense. And even a bigger margin of difference here is that Oklahoma State's passing yards ranking in the nation is 17th. Meanwhile, TCU's passing yards allowed for their defense is ranked 110th in the nation. So just some more weak defensive stats to help our over here. And then same and even a better side to this over is that TCU's offensive total yards is ranked 3rd in the country. They've really been moving the ball. They average over 500 yards of offensive production a game. And we look at Oklahoma State, and they're ranked 106th in the nation in total yards allowed. And just like Oklahoma State has the stat, TCU is number 20 in the nation at offensive passing yards, and they are facing an Oklahoma State defense ranked 126th in the nation at allowing yards to the air. I would think this really supports both of our sides here. I think the winner of this game is in the 40s. I think it's going to be around like 40 to 30 area. So give me that over 68.5 in Fort Worth.
Yeah, I like that. Every year it seems, for what I can remember, I'm always playing the Oklahoma State TCU game. I'm glad you took it this year because usually I'll go with, whatever team I go with, and it just seems like a lot of points. It seems to be a trend in that game, so I really enjoy that pick. Okay, let's move on here. We're going to go. I love my Big Ten football games, but this one jumps out at me. This is Wisconsin against Michigan State. This game is in Michigan State, and Wisconsin's a 7-point favorite. I will be taking Wisconsin Badgers -7 against Michigan State. So as a Buckeye fan, I've seen both teams play this year, and Wisconsin, I always have the feeling that they're a good team. They're always going to be competitive. They looked like trash. They haven't looked the best, but man, Michigan State, I think that's where the real disappointment has come, because I thought Mel Tucker had that team ready to go. I thought they were going to be competitive and, turn some head, not even turn heads, but like at least be competitive on the field in the Big Ten. And what the Buckeyes did to them last week, the score really doesn't show what happened, but dude, Michigan State has been just abysmal in the conference. So they started off the year, they won against Western Michigan and Akron, so they beat two MAC schools. Since then, it's been 4 consecutive straight up losses and against the spread losses. They've lost to Washington, Minnesota, which Minnesota I don't know what to make of, Maryland, I can see that happening, and then of course Ohio State. And Ohio State was a 27-point favorite. They were still able to cover that. With Wisconsin, I feel after they got rid of Paul Christ, against Northwestern last week, they looked to be re-energized, if you can say that. Their offense started to put up some points, but their defense is still top-notch against the run. Against the Buckeyes, it was just, you run into two of the best running backs in your conference, and playing in the horseshoe at night, it's going to be tough.
It's tough.
So I think Wisconsin is going to be able to stop their run game, and you're going to be forcing Michigan State's quarterback, Graham Mertz. Not Graham Mertz. I looked at that wrong. Anyway, whoever it is. I can't even remember who it was last week.
Who?
Michigan State's quarterback.
Oh, Helinski.
Was it Helinski last week? I thought
or Thorne.
Else. Thorne, that's it. Thorne. But I think he's going to have a rough time moving against this defense. Graham Mertz is the quarterback for Wisconsin. He started to find his ground last week, just under 300 yards, but threw 5 touchdowns. He's got receivers and running backs around him that are going to help. Wisconsin scoring 32 points a game. That is kind of skewed. They put up 66 against New Mexico State, and then 50-something against Northwestern. Their offense is going to be all right. I just think for this game right here, it's all about Mel Tucker and Michigan State. Mel Tucker, I don't think, has a clue what's going on with his team. I'm not saying he's a bad coach, but I just think the team is kind of lost right now, and the fan base is not supporting him whatsoever. That last week, that stadium was basically halfway empty by the time the second half kicked off against the Buckeyes. So I'm feeling confident that the new look Badgers with their new coach are going to be able to roll in, get the job done, move on, and I think Michigan State is still going to be just a challenge to try to finish out the year and give Mel Tucker some hope. So for me, Wisconsin -7. That's my Big Ten lock of the week, basically.
Okay. Well, I like it a lot. I'm going to switch over from the Big Ten here to probably the biggest game of the week. It's where College Game Day will be. And we're going to take a look here at the Alabama versus Tennessee game.
Yep.
Right now, you can still grab this line at Tennessee plus 7.5, and I would grab it right now. I don't see this going any more in Tennessee's favor whatsoever, especially with a lot of the doubt that Bryce Young is truly healthy for this game. I honestly don't think he is. I don't think it's close. Even though I do think he will play, I still think he'll probably be at about 75%. That injury is pretty nasty that he had with the shoulder, and coming back from that in only 2 weeks is pretty rough. And when we go to the backup quarterback in Milroe, it's a huge step down for Alabama. They almost lost to Texas A&M last week. Came down to the final play. Just Jimbo called made an abysmal red zone call, which is not surprising whatsoever. But Alabama is probably 7 points worse without Bryce Young. On the other side of the field, Tennessee, this is honestly probably the biggest game in the history of Tennessee, at least this century. This is the best team they've had since the 90s. And I think Hendon Hooker if he can win this, it puts him right up there with C.J. Stroud to actually make a real Heisman race this year. When it comes to Cedric Tillman and his availability, Tennessee's star wide receiver, I think that he is by far going to be able to play this game. And it was hard to pick between Alabama, between going over with this game, because we do know Tennessee has one of the worst pass defenses in the nation. They let Anthony Richardson, who hasn't really been impressive since week one, just throw for over 300 yards on them. But I do end up, I do believe in Hendon Hooker. He has not thrown a pick all year, so we can expect him to stay hot. Hopefully, he doesn't regress and start throwing picks this whole game. I think the environment, especially in the stadium, this is a night game, right? Mm-hmm. Pretty sure it is. I think the environment here is probably going to be ridiculous. Probably one of the loudest environments Alabama's played in all year.
It's a 3:30 kickoff.
Oh, 3:30
because it's a
kickoff.
CBS game of the week, so they always play those at 3:30.
Oh shit, yeah. Well,
but that's still
sun will be going down right when it's crunch time.
I mean, that's prime time for SEC country.
Yeah, Rocky Top will be drunk.
Yeah,
going into
they've got plenty of time to get ready for this one.
Ready. And with game day there, that's just huge for the whole program. If Alabama can't get Bryce, the production out of Bryce that they want, they're going to turn heavy to the run game. And with them turning heavy to the run game, that makes me feel even better that Tennessee can stay within 7 points or 7.5 here. So give me Tennessee. Great Hendon Hooker performance with Cedric Tillman back and with Bryce Young unhealthy. I like Tennessee plus 7.5.
Yeah, I do not want to make this official, but I'm with you 100% on that. I mean, I was looking at it as being an official pick, but I don't think we have very good. I don't know what our record is when we go when we're together.
We should be keeping track of that.
You know what? I'll go back into the archives. I'll figure that out.
But by the way, 26 and 21 is a pod so far in the year. So even after last week's 1-5 week, we still have a 5-game differential on win margin.
I think that's close to 60%. But yeah, I mean, I'm rolling with that 100%.
I'm so excited to watch this game.
That's gonna be a fantastic game to watch. All right, let's keep it rolling. We'll keep going with another ranked matchup. I mean, USC against Utah. So right now, USC, what are they ranked? 7th or 8th? One of the two. Utah's in the top 20. But right now, Utah's a 2.5-point favorite. They are at home against USC. But for this one, I don't know how Utah can be favorite just because of how it's been rolling for them and how USC's been playing. USC 6-0. They beat Rice, destroyed Stanford, Fresno State. They just barely beat Oregon State, but then took out Arizona State. So they're on a nice little roll here. Utah, let me find this real quick, because I think their last game was against UCLA, right? Yeah.
Last week, yes.
Yeah, what was the score of that?
I do not.
I can't find it. Sorry, it says Utah. Check that for me. See if you can find the score for that Utah UCLA game. But while you look for that, Utah started off with that tough loss against Florida. They came back. They took out Southern Utah, which I didn't know they had a team. They beat San Diego State. They beat Arizona State, so you got a game in common. And then they beat Oregon State as well. while, USC beat them. So you got 2 games in common there.
Lost 42-32 last week.
They lost 42-32 to UCLA. Do you think UCLA is a good team?
I do, actually.
Do you actually?
I do. I'm sorry.
That's fine. No, I wanted to hear that. But I didn't want to hear it.
I think they're a sneaky good team.
Sneaky good. Okay. Do you think UCLA is better than USC?
I think they're liable to be USC. I think time will tell.
Man.
I just hate USC's defense.
Okay. Hey, that's fine.
And Caleb Williams kind of played like a bum 2 out of the last 3 games. So.
He is, and I think that's what's going to propel him this game. He knows his play's been off a little bit, and USC being in the top 10, going to the Big Ten, I think this is their little stepping stone to where if they beat Utah and they take care of business on the road, then they're setting themselves up. They're still vying for a playoff spot. If there's a team coming out of that conference, it's going to be USC.
Right.
Okay, so I think they know that, and I don't think they have, when you go on the road and you're an underdog on the road, the pressure's not on you, the pressure's on them. I think that relaxes Caleb Williams a little bit in this game. And I think USC is going to come out, they're going to come firing. They're going to jump on Utah because they know Utah can score points, but they also know Utah can't stop anybody. Utah gave up 502 yards total offense last week, 21 first downs to UCLA. But Utah also put up 471 yards. They had 31 first downs. They had the ball for a little bit over half of that game. They couldn't get the win. They had the advantage on offense. They could not beat UCLA. That tells me their defense is not going to be able to keep up with how their offense goes. USC, they're going 5.3 yards per play against Washington. Washington State, 23 first downs, and they've been scoring, I think, every single game this year. Yeah, that one game against Oregon State where they scored 17. Every single game's been 30 points. 30 points or more.
Right.
So I think if you put that 30 points up against a Utah defense that is having some struggles right now trying to stop people, I think that can inflate up to 40, maybe close to 50 points. I think Utah still scores points, but in a game like this, it might come down to who has the ball in the last few minutes of the game, and I think with the way Utah's defense plays, that gives USC a better shot of holding on to possession and kind of dictating how the pace of play is. So for this, I mean, I like the upset. I like USC to win outright, but I'm going to take USC plus 2.5 against Utah. And I know I'm glad that you rebutted and gave me a little adversity because I don't want everyone to think that we're always
high five.
Yeah, we're never like that. But yeah, all right. Third and final games.
Yeah, we're gonna go to we're gonna take a MAC team. We love the MAC over here. And this is also a fate of just probably the worst team in college football. And I'm talking about UMass. Here's some little offensive statistics for UMass, and I think, this, a lot of you guys don't want to hear too much about UMass, but this is all you need to know. They're dead last in the nation in passing yards per game. They're second to last in scoring and third to last in total yards. That's all you need to know. They against Liberty last week, they scored the most points that they have all season. It was 24 points, but most of it was fluky. They only had 233 yards of total offense. On the other side of the ball, with Buffalo, they were very impressive last week. We had an over with them and BG last week that ended up not hitting, and Buffalo's defense showed that they could hang with some pretty high talented quarterback play. Matt McDonald, we've mentioned him more than probably any other podcast in the country. He's the quarterback for Bowling Green. Only led that offense to 7 points last week. Buffalo started 0-3 on the year, and then once they got into conference play, they've been able to win 3 straight. So they're currently at 500, and in a pretty good. They have a pretty good road to actually win the MAC, or at least make it to the MAC championship from here. I just really like this team and how physical they play. 2 out of the last 3 spreads, or 2 of the last 3 games, they have covered the spread or covered the closing line by more than 25 points. So I still think they're undervalued in the eyes of Vegas, and I see that they have the ability to run it up. Additionally, all the games that UMass has lost this year, they've only come within 17 points once. That's the full half spread, or full game spread. But I'm going to dial it back and just play the first half because Buffalo plays MAC rival Toledo next week, and that has huge implications for standings in the MAC. I think Buffalo wants to run it up quick and then rest their guys. So we're going to go first half -9.5.
-9.5 first half.
Yes.
I like that. Anything that's under double digits for the first half, I like a lot.
Is nice. Yes.
All right. We love our MAC football here. Love it. All right. My final game. We're going to go with another semi-big game, I guess you would call it. Florida State against Clemson.
I think this game's huge.
Yeah. All right, so Clemson's at 4.5-point favorites against Florida State. This is at Florida State. See, the line opened at 7.5. Is it still? How did I get 4.5? Give me 1 second. Let me check this real quick. Florida State. Wow. So Clemson's actually at 3.5 right now. So the line's dropping from 7.5, 3.5.
Sharps are believing in Florida State.
That's fine. I'm going to take Clemson -3.5 here.
Love it.
Love it. So, as much as I don't like Dabo Swinney and DJ Uyunglele, Clemson's starting to get back into the form that they've been in the past so many years. They're starting to win games. They're climbing back in. I think they're, ranked 4th right now. And Florida State, every week for me, Florida State seems like they're never going to get back to where everyone thinks Florida State was. Sometimes it seems like they're a shadow of themselves when they're playing. And granted, Clemson last week against Boston College, it's Boston College, 31-3. But I think what scares everyone and what's scaring people right now is that Clemson, it took them overtime to beat Wake Forest 51-45. Wake Forest is a good team. They're a very good team. This Wake Forest team beat Florida State 31-21. And I would take Wake Forest probably to be a team that can contend for a conference championship. But let's get away from that real quick. We want to talk Florida State and NC State last week. Big thing here, Florida State 17-3 lead at half. Couldn't score in the last 2 quarters of that game. Ended up losing 19-17. Jordan Travis, the quarterback for Florida State, 181 yards with 1 TD, 2 interceptions. He also had to lead the team in rushing. He had 108 yards, 7 carries. I don't think that's going to do well against Clemson. I think Dabo, even though he's an eccentric and everything has to be about him, I think he gets this team ready to go. They know that they just have to stop Jordan Travis and you win this game. And with the line dropping the way it is, you grab it at 3.5. I think Clemson can win by a touchdown here. I haven't talked much about my trends like I used to, so let's jump into those real quick. Clemson 6-1 against the spread in their last 7 conference games, 5-1 against the spread in their last 6 road games, and 20-9 against the spread in their last 29 after and against the spread win. Listen, Clemson's coming back. They're starting to round out as a football team. They're getting into form. Shout out to soccer people. You know what inform means. Even though they were 5 of 14 on third down, they're still able to move the ball. They're still able to get first downs. And they're limiting penalties. 2 penalties last week. They've scored 30 points in every single game so far this year. Florida State coming off that tough loss to NC State, knowing you have to play a top 5 team on Saturday at home. They're going to try to do whatever they can for their fans, but they were equal to an NC State team that I just don't think is there. But we talk about Clemson having 2 penalties. Florida State, 10 penalties, 2 turnovers. Not going to help it out. Not going to not going to get you over the hump to beat top 5 teams and be elite in this league. It's just not going to be easy. So I'm taking Clemson, and right now they're at -3.5. So let me put that on my sheet so I know to update it. But yeah, Clemson -3.5.
Let's go, Dabo.
I hate Dabo, but
Me too.
the same. They had a video, I think it was 2 weeks ago, when they showed up. They had a nighttime game at Clemson, which I've been to that stadium, and you walk outside, it's so cool just walking around that stadium. And they showed the buses pulling up to release the players, and it's instantly Dabo gets out. He's the first one down. He's the first one there. He touches the rock, the first one to sprint on the field. I'm just like,
Makes it all about himself.
how is this? I wouldn't want to play for that kind of a guy, but whatever. All right. There it is. We got 6 picks this week. I think we can do a lot better than 1 and 5 like we did last week. I'm feeling more confident. You feeling more confident?
I'm feeling pretty good. It's a tough week.
It's a very, very tough
bounce
week.
back, so
Very tough week. I'm feeling good with our bounce back. Let's do a quick recap. Then we'll hit the outro and we'll let everyone out. You want me to start it? I got it right here.
Yep.
We'll go Wisconsin -7 against Michigan State. Clemson -3.5 against Florida State, and then USC +3.5 against Utah. And I do think USC pulls out the win in that game.
nice. All right, Big Country Week 7 slate. I got Oklahoma State TCU over 68.5. I've got Alabama Tennessee. I got Tennessee +7.5, and I have Buffalo first half -9.5 at UMass.
There we go. That's the Week 7, Episode 8 podcast. It's the sports mecca right now for me. We're recording this on Wednesday. I got my Blue Jackets starting the season off tonight. I got my Indians. Well, Guardians, Indians, same thing. I got them in the playoffs against the Yankees. Windians. I got the Buckeyes on a bye week, and then, of course, the Browns to disappoint me every Sunday before I go to work. But it's a good time of year. Do you have anything else you want to throw in there? You want to let them know our socials real quick?
Yeah, find Dan at DPOS13. On Twitter, find me at Big Country Bets. Follow the pod at CFP_pod. And most of all, share the pod with your friends. We need to keep running up the downloads and keep growing as a community.
Yep. Like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, and we will keep this rolling. We are still plus on the air. Both of us are, I think we're both plus our records, right?
Yeah, I'm plus.
Yeah. So both of our records are plus on the air. So obviously that makes the podcast plus on the air over 50%. That's what you need to do to succeed. And we will keep rolling. So if that's all you have, I don't have anything else. All right.
Good to go.
There we go. It's Big Country. I'm Dan, and we will see you next week.